Peter Christopher Moore, more commonly known in the TCAP universe as Chris Moore, was caught in the to catch a predator sting of Riverside, California, 34 years old at the time. He believed he was talking to a 13-year-old boy. Over the course of this video, I'll review his chat log with the perverted justice decoy and go over the confrontation he had with Chris Hansen at the Sting House. The purpose of this video is to shine a light on horrible grooming behaviour, but to do so in an entertaining manner. Be warned, the content is verbally graphic and viewer discretion is highly advised. To make the video as family friendly as possible, I won't be going over the chat log with a fine-tooth comb, seeing as it can get pretty nasty at points. Instead, I'll cover the log with a quick summary before checking out the Chris Hansen interview. With that out of the way, let's dive in. The predator asks for this child's stats, and quickly learns that the person he converses with is 13 years old. The decoy informs the man that he finds his pictures hot. In response, the predator offers some insightful information about a certain part of his body that's hanging low and a little to the right. Charming, hey? This leads the two into this disturbing exchange. Laugh out loud. You're cute. Cute's for kids. Okay, you're hot. Laugh out loud. Sexy. Handsome. Sexy works. You got more pics? Only X's. You wish X, but no cam that ain't friends. Laugh out loud. Was that a yes or a no? No, I don't got none. Want 'em? Don't got 'em. Want mine? Totally, bro. I'd take some of you. That rock. Sent. Damn. You're huge. Thanks. The man then learns that he lives about a 40-minute drive from the decoy. The predator informs the boy that he doesn't work because he's rich. And well. Seems like we have quite a substantially wealthy predator on our hands. He's managed to amass his fortunes by working as an extra in film productions. The decoy asks the man if he'd like to be in a relationship with him, a question that does go unanswered. The decoy then indicates that he'd like to be a model one day, a notion that, as you could imagine, elicits some uncomfortable dialogue out of the predator. With the meetup loosely scheduled for the following day, it would appear that our predator begins to engage in some subtle manipulative behaviour, showing the decoy that he has other things to do the following day that take priority over a meetup. This works in his predatory favour, as it could see the minor feel that this man is important and interesting, therefore their efforts to connect with him would increase. With a bit of back and forth, the decoy is able to get Chris to budge on one of these highly important activities, a shower. To save time, instead of bathing at home, the plan is for Mr. Moore to arrive at the decoy's house, all sweaty from a workout at the gym. Then he'll shower with the boy at his house. The decoy then leaves to go to the bathroom, and when he gets back, a small amount of confusion permeates throughout the conversation. I'll play a segment of my original work on this video to give you an understanding of what occurred here. When he returns, Chris comments on how long it took. The decoy's response causes some chuckle-inducing confusion for me. His exact words are, "I gotta do too." One cannot blame our predator for thinking this boy meant he discharged the waste of the number 2 variety, hey. Believing that a bowel movement is being discussed, Chris recoils in disgust, which in itself is a bit of a chuckle. I mean, I just wrapped up a video on some of the chat log for Jerichosis, so I was half expecting this predator's ears to prick up, like an excited child who hears the ice cream truck in the distance. But no, there are no toilet-based fantasies here, thankfully. Just a comment from the man that too much information has been provided. Realizing his mistake, the decoy clarifies that he actually meant he had to go get a Mountain Dew. Gotta do too. As chat progresses, the predator's questioning becomes more direct and intense. focused on the minor's previous sexual experiences. This allows him to gain an understanding of how far he might be able to push his target when they meet up in person. With excitement on both sides at an all-time high regarding their meetup, the man informs that he'll be arriving in a fancy Mercedes convertible. Alas, despite the decoy's best attempts, Chris will not allow this child to drive his vehicle. With a suggestive remark from the decoy, the predator's resolve has been assaulted. He buckles, indicating that he might allow the minor to drive his precious automobile, as long as the boy is very good and they've known each other for a longer period of time. There's some pretty disturbing discussion depicting what Mr. Moore thinks will be occurring in the shower together. He also confirms that he'll be bringing a camera to generate some nasty content surrounding his vile fantasies. The moment wraps up with the plan being that this decoy shall be nude when the man makes his grand entrance. Nearing the end of the log, the predator is slightly concerned that this could be a police operation, but that paranoia is swiftly nipped in the bud, as the decoy indicates he is most definitely not a cop. The man goes on to brag about his extravagant living situation, potentially a sign that he derives self-worth and meaning from the marveling comments of onlookers. This leads us to the end of the log, and that concludes my summary of the chat. With zero hesitation at all, Chris Moore makes his way towards the performance of his life, where, for the first time, he will not be an extra, a background piece of the production. Let's head on over and check out if Hansen is in any mood to take a shower with this man, hey? At this point, I'll leave you with my work from the original version of this video. It's only a quick glimpse of it, but my. It would seem our predator wasn't lying about his riches. Quite the fancy convertible you have there, Mr. Moore.
Hang up the counter for a second, okay?
Okay.
So I know I showered once. Did you still want to shower again?
Well, kind of stinky.
The man was an aspiring actor, and without even knowing it, uttered a phrase during this performance that he would be remembered for forever. Amongst his repertoire of film and theatrical appearances, this phrase became so iconic that instantly it's recognizable amongst a portion of entertainment watchers out there. The line, of course, was his perfectly delivered, "I'm kinda stinky." I wonder if that was scripted or if he was improvising. Either way, he's really getting into the role of a predator, using some of that method acting techniques I see here. He's not just pretending to be stinky, he is stinky. Anyway, taking things a little more seriously, I've read a lot of people giving the man heat for showing up to what he thought would be a sexual liaison being kinda stinky. And absolutely, that's quite the foul thing to do, no matter the age of the person he came here to be with. But I believe showing up to the house kinda stinky is a purposeful decision which has been actively done for two reasons. The first, showering at this house would be a time saver like they discussed in the chat. It would leave more time for the two to partake in other, more disturbing activities. But more importantly, the second reason I would say is that in his twisted mind somewhere, he probably thinks this would be arousing. The stink from his workout can be washed away with his target, and as they do so, the young teen can marvel at what a glorious body is before him. I believe the man thinks that by saying he's kinda stinky, it's some sort of turn-on, sweaty pheromones permeating through the air, getting everyone riled up. As the nose twitches from this pungent odor, the imagination conjures up imagery of a man working hard, sweating, and now needing to clean all of that beautiful, tough physical labor away. What a man, hey?
What's up?
Hi, how are you?
Why don't you have a seat right there?
I feel as though Hansen missed out on a great opportunity for one of his classic opening zingers. Something along the lines of, "Kinda stinky, I could smell you from back here."
What's going on?
How you doing, Chris?
How are you? You're Chris?
Yeah.
What you doing here?
This opening moment is revealing to me because you'll see as the interaction unfolds, the predator adopts a more submissive, defeated, even teary defense. Whereas at the start here, he's confident and ready to converse, his hand outstretched, going in for the professional intro, his name provided, and he rides through all of this with solid eye contact. This predator is prepared to lie. He knows full well that his presence here is eyebrow-raising, now probably hoping that Hansen is a father who's somewhat in the dark of what's occurring. It's interesting to me to see how the confidence greeting this unknown danger will soon transition into submission once it realizes what sort of trouble it faces.
I was invited
By?
by who?
Well, who did you think you were talking to?
I thought I was talking to Luke.
Luke. And how old do you think Luke is? Get your hand out of your pocket. How old do you think Luke is?
I thought he was 18. He's told me.
18.
At this point, we have the peak of the man operating within his lie. He knows full well he was conversing with a 13-year-old, but here, he states that he was 18. It really makes me wonder, what else has this man gotten away with in his life? In those times, potentially, where he's been confronted with his own poor behaviors, but the other party didn't have hard evidence to back up their assault, like Hansen does here.
Yeah.
You're saying that Luke told you he was 18.
Yeah.
I'll try again.
If he's younger, I apologize. I didn't know.
The first moments of a crack within his defense. Why would the predator feel the need to apologize if he's younger? All Hansen has stated is that Chris should try again on the age. If the 18-year-old defense had any truth to it, at this point, one would expect a confident man, such as has been displayed. They would double down and say, "What the hell are you talking about?" Yes, he absolutely said he was 18. But that's not what happens. The mind of a liar under too much pressure. He dips his toe into the pool of truth, just enough to feel as though he's protecting himself, but not enough to reveal his true intentions.
The problem, Chris, is that I have the transcripts. So I already know what you said. So it would be probably better for you to tell the truth right up front. Okay?
I made a mistake.
Can we have that agreement?
Whatever defense was being presented earlier has been completely shattered with the revelation of the chat log. If one watches closely, you can see the complete shift of Chris's demeanor. He goes from confidence to submission. It's at this point his defense will entirely change for the rest of the interaction.
So why don't you just tell me what happened?
First time I've ever done this.
The first time you've ever done this.
Yes.
And how old are you, Chris?
34.
34.
What is that in the background? Could it be? It's a fly. Although our predator has lied up until this point, it would appear that his claims of being stinky were no fabrication. The flies have followed the man in, like moths to a predatory flame.
And you thought it was okay to send this kind of material to... No, please just stay seated right there. You thought it was okay to send this kind of material to a 13-year-old boy. Why?
Panic and distress have fully set in at this point. He breathes heavily and cannot sit back down, even when requested. I imagine the standing is some form of self-soothing mechanism to assist him in processing what would be an immense amount of pressure. The man is in complete and utter mental turmoil.
You're right. It wasn't right.
He asks. You're asked. You not working? Because I'm rich, laugh out loud. Way? Not way rich, but enough to support myself comfortable. And not work? I do work, just not very often. What do you do for a living, Chris?
I work in background movies.
In movies?
And television.
And television. And what do you do for movies and television?
I understand and work.
There's that dastardly fly again. The man must really reek, hey?
Like, as an actor?
Yeah.
Should I get a fly counter going?
He says, I want to be a model. You say, I can see that. You're sexy enough. Really? Or are you just saying that? Nope, I think you're hot.
Another fly?
I'm under arrest.
Can we blank each other? Totally. How many dudes you been with? So tell me what you want to do in the shower. And you get into detail about what you're going to do with him in the shower, searching your way. And then you say,
He's presenting as a man who is fully aware of the mistake he's made, but I am having trouble following the emotion that he's dishing out with it. Yes, he is soft-spoken, with a somewhat wavering voice. His eyes are darting from locking contact with Chris to swiftly looking away. But what this all appears like to me, and it is absolute speculation on my part, but what it looks like to me is the man attempting to muster tears, digging deep down to pull out a performance that could see Hansen feeling sorry for him, and ultimately letting him go based on that. The predator is desperate, and this is his chosen way out. If taken seriously, and the tears are genuine, it begs me to ask the question, who is Chris? Is he so mentally unstable that he can roller coaster from confident man to tearful child in the flap of a fly's wings? I mean, that would line up with the stereotype that actors can be emotionally fragile beings, hey? Or could he be drawing upon experience to muster a performance, a desperate final act to this theatrical? Once again, that could also be in line with his career path of acting. I'll leave that for you to decide, because I'm still undecided on what it could be, but I am leaning more towards the performance thing, hey?
and then you say, and you're not some cop on a sting operation? I mean, that indicates that you were worried that you were doing something wrong.
I know.
Right?
I know. I know.
I normally don't meet guys as young as you. Indicating that maybe you've met other guys, just not normally as young as 13.
No, no.
Then you send this.
He asked, and I...
There goes that dastardly fly again, right on cue as well. I wonder if its arrival is due to the unpleasant odor that emanates from victim blaming.
You know, that's against the law. No, I'll take that back.
Hansen probably has a stash of those, hey? That's why he doesn't want the predator to take the photo back. Mr. Hansen is like some sort of serial killer who takes trophies from his victims. I bet there's a drawer at his home, right by his bed, and it's filled with all of the naked photos of these vile men. Sometimes at night, when he's feeling a little low, he'll roll over, turn on his bedside lamp. He'll open the drawer and run his fingers across the images which have been meticulously filed by degree of sliminess. Without looking, his fingers select one, and as his gaze sets upon the horror contained within the photo, his mind feels calm. The noise of his life's difficulties silence, and he's brought back to that very sting. That was a good day, and no matter how rough things get for Mr. Hansen, he remembers that more good days are always on the way. Alrighty, I think that's about enough Hansen fan fiction for one video.
That's against the law right there. What do you have to say for yourself?
I'm ashamed.
Is he really though? It always strikes me as disingenuous when a person finds themselves feeling shame only after being caught. Where was this shame when it was happening? Why did it take getting caught to feel such things?
I was going to turn around halfway, and, and then he calls, he's like, where are you? And I don't know, I just wasn't thinking right, and I felt terrible, and this was seriously the first time, and I knew I was taking a huge risk, and
I'm surprised another fly didn't make its debut appearance here, hey? because we got another load of fresh, steaming victim blaming that's wafting throughout the room.
So you knew what you were doing was wrong?
I mean, even when I got here, I was still kind of wondering, like, I probably shouldn't do this. And
why did you do it then? Tell me what was going on in your mind.
just,
I mean, do you have a compulsion, an addiction to this internet?
Hansen referring to internet addiction as a compulsion always seems to get a chuckle out of me. I mean, it's an irrational chuckle. There's nothing wrong with saying it, but for some reason I do find it amusing. I think the one here with a compulsion is actually Hansen himself. Him in that drawer full of naked predator photos, hey?
Activity?
actually, no. I mean, I go online, but it's, majority just to talk and chat and all that. And, sometimes if I meet a guy, they are, at least over 18.
The fact that our 34-year-old predator says he usually meets guys who are at least over 18, that suggests to me that he more than likely has targeted a younger person before. And if he hasn't, he's most definitely thought about it.
And I normally have people come over to my place and all that. And this was just the first time, and I don't know why I did. And I know I made a huge mistake, and
Well, you know how people will react when they see this. I mean, this does not look good.
I know.
The performance of a lifetime, hey?
Oh, it's scary.
So you're on television.
I haven't been in about 2 years.
What would I have seen you in on television?
What has that been on? 13 Days was the show I was on. JAG, I've been standing on JAG. Movies I did. Godzilla, Pearl Harbor, I've Never Been Kissed, Crimson Tide. I was in a Will and Grace episode.
I did briefly look around to see if I could find him in any of these productions, but to no avail. Some digging around online suggests that, as Chris mentioned, he was a stand-in actor. It's likely that he hasn't had too much screen time, even as an extra. The sort of work he potentially gets is to stand in front of the camera when lighting and equipment is being adjusted, so that the main actors don't have to waste their time with that.
Chris, what would have happened if I hadn't been here?
At other times, when Hansen asks this question, I do have second thoughts about the magnitude of sexual interaction that would have actually physically occurred. People like Jeff Stacy come to mind, where I'm certain he would have loved it if things went in that direction, but I highly doubt that it would have. At best, predatory best, I should say, Jeff would have drifted into a position that looks more like a friend, the long groom, as the man attempts to break physical barriers over an extended period of time. It could span multiple hangouts, multiple months. But in this instance with Chris Moore, I have no doubt in my mind what would have occurred, and it wouldn't have been good. Let's just say that. Although Chris's conversation with the decoy was a little light on graphic details, his demeanor was focused with a clear goal, and he did almost instantly provide a photo of his genitals. He directed conversation in the way he needed it to go, and he maintained his own personal boundaries to ensure he gets what he wants, without too much backlash if the other party became attached. He was mysterious but open, and he made it incredibly clear what he was coming around to the house for. This man had honed in on his target, and he was going to obtain what he wanted.
What would have gone on in this house?
I don't know.
I mean, you sure sound like you knew here what you wanted to do.
Yeah, but I mean,
The silence says it all. This man knows what would have went on, and he's having trouble articulating that thought. He can't lie anymore, based on the resistance he's had from Hansen previously when he attempted to lie. So all he has left is the truth, and in this situation, the truth is a difficult thing for him to speak.
I mean, it sounds like you were revved up and ready to go.
I know.
I mean, it's hard to draw any other conclusion from this.
And there are a couple of different laws that have been broken here. The picture and using the internet with the intent to have sex with an underage person.
I mean, what am I supposed to do here? You tell me. You'll never do it again.
I know my workplace isn't mean.
You know, I hear that a lot.
I know.
Number one, that this is the first time somebody's done something like this. And number two, that if they're let go, they'll never do it again. Why should anybody believe that? Do you see what I'm saying? So you've been in movies, you've been on television.
From the second Hansen learned that this man has been in television, he was waiting for the moment to use this line coming up.
Well, you're about to get another role because I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer player.
That one felt good, hey Hansen. This moment, the grand reveal as I like to call it, it's always a deep cutter, but here it slices those few inches deeper. Hansen really showing in this delivery that he has not a single morsel of care for the man who cowers in front of him. He knows how much actors invest into their craft. He knows how attached they get to their roles, how desperate they can be for auditions and gigs, and he uses all of that to deliver a burn like no other. By revealing his identity and poking fun at the predator's career path, this sting is gonna hurt so much worse than it normally would for the everyday schmuck that appears in this house.
You're obviously free to go, but if there's anything else you'd like to say, we'd be happy to hear it.
And so that's Chris Moore. If I take a moment to pretend that I may be believing his display of emotion, if I take his tears and quivering voice seriously, it all does make sense. I imagine that Chris Moore has a lot to lose, more than many of the other predators who have walked through those doors. He has wealth, a job that he flaunts around, and I'm certain friends, connections, and family members, and the way they view him would be very important to the man. So yes, it makes sense why the man might be crying here, but it's just not a performance that I find to be believable. The juxtaposition between confident, wealthy chatlog man to timid, sulking boy is too much of a disconnect for me to be able to marry. The real thing that has jumped out at me though is what if Chris is neither of these presentations of himself? What if both displays are an act? In that instance, who might this predator be? A man who can wear a different mask for any given scenario. An actor, maybe. But channeling that skill under pressure like this wouldn't be easy. I would opine that Chris is a hollow shell of a human, a narcissist who bends situations into his favor using charm, charisma, humility, and confidence when needed. I don't for a second mean to suggest that anyone who alters their personality in small ways to fit in with different friend groups, places of work, or family even, I'm not suggesting that doing that is some sort of signal that you may be a hollow manipulator. But what I do suggest is that if one is using a persona of confidence and wealth to solicit sex with a minor, then shifting into the role of a professional, decent and polite being upon being caught, then finally beating yourself into a submissive role upon facing wrath, I'd probably suggest taking a good look at what that is, hey. Under normal, I mean, what is normal under these circumstances? Nothing about this is normal. I'll try to explain this thought a different way. Let's take some circumstances for example, where a person may not be a deep, vile manipulator, but they have appeared on this program. Someone such as Alonzo Wade. He picked a lane and he stuck to it. He's a dirty liar, yes, but he held the confident path the whole way through. Cody Green is another example. He said some pretty wacky stuff, but he adopted the submissive, truthful approach, and he held that the whole way through. These are examples of people who absolutely are messed up, but not in the same way I believe Chris Moore and his seamless bouncing between such polar opposite defense styles to be. And I've got to stop for a second. Did I just use some other predators as examples of what more rational behavior looks like under these sets of circumstances? Oh man, I'm pretty sure I did, hey. That's messed up in its own special little way. I think that's probably about enough for this video. I've been pondering far too much to catch a predator for one night, hey. But before I go, I gotta do the wrap up. Since the sting, Chris fought his charges pretty hard. Hiring a lawyer, he battled all the way up to the point where he was convicted on all counts. Despite that though, as you heard me mention earlier, his chat log hasn't been accessible from the Perverted Justice website like all of the others, and it only surfaced recently when a YouTuber uploaded a copy of it. I'll leave a link to her channel down below. I've also read that since the sting, he's been pretty heavy-handed on taking down any videos linked to him on YouTube. Let's see how this one fares, hey, once it makes its way up there. Chris had to serve 90 days in county jail on weekends, 3 years of probation, registration as a sex offender, and he cannot work or be around children under the age of 18. He had to pay fines and court costs. He can't possess illegal drugs, which I don't fully understand that one. I don't think anyone can possess illegal drugs, right? Anyway, he also has to submit to random DNA testing. According to his TCAP Wikipedia page, he still works as an actor, but primarily in amateur theatre now. Other than that, I can't really find too much info on what he's been up to, or if he's gotten into any further trouble. Let's just hope that after this experience, he really cleaned up his stinky act, hey.